Well, welcome back to this episode of Paint Society. We're back here with another viable option, a budget spray gun that you can use as a do-it-yourselfer or even a professional use. And thanks for joining me again on this video. If you're new to Paint Society, my name is Brian, and for over 8 years, we've been giving all of our subscribers the most honest opinion on all of the spray guns or any product in the auto body world. When I receive a spray gun to do a review, I'm gonna dig into it and tell you the good and the bad. I'm not here to sell spray guns for any company, but I'm here to give you the best viable option so that you can make the best choice when it comes to making a purchase for a spray gun. And today we have the A608, the most expensive gun in the AeroPro fleet, coming in at $94 and $100 if you want the regulator. And a big question you might have is, Brian, you're throwing at me a lot of spray guns. Which is gonna be the best one for me? Is this one better than another? Well, I remember about 17 years ago when I started spraying cars in my home garage, I didn't know a lot either. So that brings me to my question for you. What was your first car that you ever sprayed? Was it in your garage? Was it in a professional environment? Let me know. Personally for me, it was a 2005 Honda Accord right in my own sister's garage, and well, I still have that car today. It's been resprayed here on the channel, and I want to help you guys get your projects done. So we have the A608 here, and we're spraying down a fender and a door. And for this particular job, we're going to spray most of this fender because we have some minor body work, and we're going to blend into the door where it also had some minor body work. But today, we're going to focus on the A608. You can see it is a 1.3 it comes with, and that's all you're going to get if you purchase this gun. And we can see the knobs are a little bit more bulkier and just a little bit easier to maneuver. We also have a set knob here if you want to use that, but I like to keep it all the way out. Now to set up this gun, I take my fan on top and I wind it all the way to the left. And the fan is basically the spray pattern of how wide it is. To set up the fluid, I'm going to wind out the fluid knob as much as possible. The fluid comes in from the top of the spray gun, travels through the air body, and goes out the air nozzle. To set it up, you're going to hold down the trigger and you're going to turn this in to the right, and as soon as it stops, which isn't a lot, it's set to wide open. For this particular gun, I'm going to do a little bit more, about a half to 1/4 turn in. Then you're going to find your air adjustment here at the bottom. For this one, you always want to keep it wide open, and you'll do adjustments right here from the air regulator. We're in the booth, ready to go. Let's check out the fan from about 6 inches. All right, look at that. Pretty nice fan. Not the biggest fan I've seen from a budget gun. I've seen bigger, but this is still pretty consistent. That's kind of fan that I like. This is about a good, I would say, 13 inches. Now in this area, we sanded down the damage and it kind of went through a little bit to the undercoat, and this is where we had some primer. So we just want to put some sealer all in this area so we have a nice coverage on there before we do the base. And we're going to see how it reacts. Right now I feel like it needs to go up a little bit more. It's having some problems atomizing, I can just tell by looking at it. So just take it up a couple more pounds and you should be fine. Right around here is all we need. Perfect, we'll leave it at that. And we'll go ahead and seal the front of this bumper right here because we're going to be applying some base. Now, this spray gun does atomize very well. It has a little bit of a bigger air nozzle than most, but I do feel like this size gun is a great overall gun. What I'm looking for in a cheap spray gun is to see how well it atomizes. Is there a lot of overspray, and does it take up a lot of paint and substance? And these are things I can generally judge based off spraying day in and day out comparing to other guns. Now I'm doing a double coat here because white sealer does take a long time to cover, obviously, so we'll put down a double coat. That way we don't have to put a whole bunch of white base down. So that will be fine just like that. So once we got that sealer all cleaned out of the spray gun, and all you need to do is take out the air cap and run some thinner in it. Now don't ever clean your spray gun with the air cap still on, because all that material will just bundle up in here and it will sit in the air cap. This is just the air cap. No fluid goes through it. It just creates air to atomize from the fluid tip to give you a nice clean atomized pattern. This doesn't have the cleanest pattern. It's a little bit messy. I noticed that while I was spraying. It's kind of all over the place. If you're concerned with trying to get one area down, it's going to be hard to be precise with it. That's what I'm going to say right off the bat. But let's not draw conclusions just yet. Let's spray some base and let's see if that's still consistent throughout. But that's one thing I noticed. I also noticed something else. There is a swivel at the bottom, but it's not nearly as annoying as like the Black Widow, the original one. that one was super annoying because you would be spraying and this thing would be moving on you. This is actually pretty firm in here, so it can move, which is cool, but it's not gonna move on you. What we're gonna be using now is something called blending additive, guys. Now, blending additive basically is a clear base coat. It's gonna go over that sealer edge. We're not gonna go directly over the sealer, but about 3 or 4 inches into the sealer to smooth out that edge, and it's gonna go over all of our sanded paint. We have everything sanded already with 600. Let me show you in the booth what that is. Basically what we have here is a sealer, and then we have sanded 600. That is where the blend is going to happen. So color really can't go past this area. So we're gonna put clear base coat on all of our sanded area to give it a nice smooth finish for our base to lay over and transition properly. Let me show you.
Now you want to jump into this only about a few minutes later, and we're going to go about 3 or 4 inches into our sealer edge. What that's going to do is create a nice smooth transition between the original paint and what I'm going to be blending in. You don't want to spray this on too dry because it won't do its job. Its job is to go on wet and to smooth out. This is not melt away blender. This is clear blending additive. And we'll just wrap things up here on this side like so. Now the gun's doing a great job. I have no complaints right now about the gun, but I want to see, once we get into the base and the pearl, is that going to really give a nice finish.
And now that it's dry 10 minutes later, I can run my tack rack over it, and the transition here is completely smooth. I don't like to touch a panel too much if I don't need to. It's clean, let's leave it alone. Now the biggest difficulty you'll have as a painter and using a cheaper spray gun is keeping that area small. I mentioned to you earlier this kind of a messy fan, and my sealer ends here, my base has got to end not far off, and then my pearl, because I got to keep this within the door or else it's not going to match the rear door. Also, having a good match really helps out when blending, because if it's not a perfect blend, a good match will go a long way.
So what I'm going to do here is I'll start at the front of the fender, and I'll just bring it ever so slightly just past my sealer. Now it's hard to see my sealer, but it's there. But the good thing is the undercoat is already white, so it's going to cover almost just about in one coat. We won't have to mess with it too much after this, and that's how you get out of it really easily. Since we are doing the bumper, I can just take this all the way to the edge, so we have that perfect match. And I'm going to stop this right at that top body line like that. And then business as usual here. I'm going to go ahead and check this out. I think I can get out of this with just one coat since I sealed it in white already. And that would have meant that I only used 4 ounces only of white to cover this whole entire job.
Now I really like the way it looks, but I'm going to add a little bit of blender here to what little paint is left. And I'm going to go over that door right there just to make sure that we don't have any issues. I'll take off the top, and we probably have maybe a ½ ounce there. And I'm going to take my blending additive and I put about maybe a ½ ounce in there as well. So I'm going to double it up. So we're going to use this paint that is more translucent on the edge, so you're not going to see that blend as much. And this is a great trick if you're having issues. Get coverage first, and then put a little bit of blender in there. That's going to liquefy it a little bit. It's going to keep it wet on that edge.
So now I can come here, and I'll just take this edge right here, and I'll leave it alone like that. And that's all I need to do.
And this is how your base should look. Nice, smooth, and clean. If your base is not nice, smooth, and clean, your pearl is going to highlight it. And you're going to have a halo at the edge, and you're going to have a car that does not look matched when it's outside. Don't depend on your pearl to fix a bad ground coat color. It must blend perfectly before you put the pearl on. The pearl is just an effect. Okay? So let's go ahead and put the pearl on. When we do the pearl, I'm going to do the fender, I'm going to do the door, and I'm going to lose it right around here.
For the second coat, we're going to walk it out a little bit better and just keep that pearl only a few inches past our original first coat of base. And 2 coats of pearl really it's enough here. That's all we really need to do, and we will be fine with this job. We've done it a million times, so know your colors and how they operate. It's actually a really, really good gun. Whenever I, again, make a review, I have to consider the price. I can't ask for the best atomization. I can't ask for the biggest fan. I can't ask for all these elements that make a great gun for $100. We're back here in the booth. We're ready for clear 20 minutes later. I'm just using one spot of this tack rag, and I'm just gently going over it, and I'm feeling it. This feels super smooth. I know that when it's super smooth, my blend is going to follow very nicely. So that is a very good sign. Now, being this gun really puts it on fast, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my clear and I'm not gonna put it on the edges because I don't want my edges to build up. So I'm gonna contain it, I'm gonna stop it a couple inches from my edges. It might look like on camera I'm taking it all the way, but I'm not because I don't want that build up. Let's hit up that first coat now. Now, honestly, I haven't looked at my pressure too much, but I would say it's around 26 PSI, which is nice to see that it's not sucking up a lot of paint. Now I'm using a little bit faster clear here because it is a little bit cooler tonight, and by cooler I mean around 75 degrees in the booth. So our traditional clear is a little bit slower, so I want to make sure that we don't get any runs or any buildup. See me just moving along? I can't really see what I'm doing, but I'm just moving like a robot, and I know if I move like a robot I can get a nice consistent finish. And that's basically the name of the game, just keep it consistent. I started getting better at all my paint jobs when I found a routine and a procedure that worked. And I stuck with it, and I do it every single time, and I get the same results every single time, which I feel, in my opinion, are really good. So let's check that out in real time and see what it looks like. I haven't looked it over, it could have some dry spots. I don't know, I'm not too concerned about it right now. That second coat, I will clear things up if I need to, but that looks pretty good from bottom to top. A couple dry spots in the middle, a little bit dry, maybe around there, but we'll get that on a second coat. We'll let that tack up. Follow the same procedure on the bumper. Now, when you're painting with this gun, you don't want to daydream. That means you need to pay attention to what is going on, because I'm telling you, it's coming out of the gun and it's flowing on pretty nice. And if you're not paying attention for one moment, or you're doing a double pass, that will lead you right into a run. And that is the name of the game. Just knowing when enough is enough so that you can do a good job. And here it is 10 minutes later, it's ready for its second coat. It's got good gloss, but now I'm really gonna concentrate on getting everything wet. I can see a little bit of a dry spray right in the middle of the door here. So now you're gonna see me, watch me, what I'm doing as I talk to get this nice and clean. And this is no matter what spray gun you use, you gotta do the same technique. So what I like to do is I always get down on the floor almost so I can become level with the paint job. I start from the bottom up so I can see the wet edge. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pass over both of my panels. That way I get that nice build of clear coat, and we're not overdoing it with 2 full coats on our edges. We get one nice coat on our edges, and that's all we're gonna need. Just keep it moving. A lot of people ask, do I come off the trigger? I don't really pay attention. I say at the end, maybe a little bit, but honestly, you just flick it. You can either, I guess, come off the trigger or flick it a little bit. A lot of people make such a big deal about flicking your wrist. Whatever, guys. Just paint the car however you want. There's no perfect technique that you need to do to get a good job. Everyone paints cars differently. I mean, if I watch some of my videos from before, in the beginning, and I see how I painted cars then and I still got a good job, I'm surprised. I'm like, how did I get away with that? Some of the things I did and I still got away with that I've changed now. Find a procedure that works good for you and leave it. I will literally like get low, because now is the time. If we don't do this now, you're not going to be able to do this later. You're not going to be able to blend it in. And it's kind of funny because sometimes the clear coat will look like it's dry, but it still needs to flow out a little bit. So when I do this, I might just go over it real quick, only in the middle, not on the edge, because that's where it's going to flow out to, and that's it. Right here in the middle of the doors, we're going to see primarily your dull spots. And I can tell now that that's settled, and that will be fine. Top of the door generally is going to be okay because you can see it better. You can see what you're doing. Fender gap looks great. Down here, yep, just a little bit. And I'll do it this way. Perfect. And now we let this flow out and we'll finish up the bumper. And I tell you, the more I spray with this gun throughout this job, the more I like it actually. At first I was like, it actually makes for a really good clear gun. Now your biggest question you guys are gonna have that you always ask me is, well, Brian, remember when you did the video on the Euro Pro, you know, the Astro, the blue gun? Well, I bought it. Is this gonna be a good replacement for it? Well, that is a great question. The reason why is they're both about the same price, so they're basically two contenders. This gun right here, it's built better than the Euro Pro. The Euro Pro has a wider fan, and it is a little bit more precise and a little bit more fine-tuned than this. The Euro Pro is going to be a little bit of a slower gun. This is going to be a little bit of a quicker gun. 94 bucks, the Euro Pro 94 bucks. If you already have one, it's not a bad idea. Maybe you pick up this, compare it, have a great two-set gun combo. And here's what we're looking at only about 15 minutes after. You can see how smooth it is. We've got a great finish on there. This is a professional finish, guys. The way this looks fantastic. Out of a $94 spray gun, doesn't get any better than that, honestly. I could roll with this all day long. But let's get some final thoughts on this spray gun. And when doing my final review, I have to consider some things. The biggest thing I have to consider is the price. Now the price of the spray gun being at $94 for the base gun, just the gun only, and $100 if you want to get the regulator, I feel is a great deal at that price range. For this particular gun, I'll give it an 8 out of 10 for a budget gun. Now there's other guns again in that value range. I feel like once a gun goes over $100, it's kind of hard to call it a budget gun nowadays because there's a lot of cheap guns on the market. The one thing I did like about this particular gun is how well it is built. It doesn't feel cheap. Some of the other spray guns like the Intercraft that's under $100, that gun does feel a little bit cheap. I don't feel cheapness in the spray gun, and the coating actually gives it a nice look and helps it to get clean off a lot easier. Some things I'm not crazy about this gun is the fan pattern. It's not as big as I would like, and also it is just a little bit messy. So if I was spraying this and I need to be a little bit more detailed or kind of touch something up, this is not the gun for it. I feel like the overspray would go all over the place. Talking about overspray, I didn't see a lot in the air. It was precise with its transfer efficiency. That's another thing, the reason why I'm giving this gun an 8 out of 10 when it comes to reviewing a cheap budget gun just like this. If we were to increase the price to maybe $300, that would bring this gun to maybe a 5 out of 10, because once you get into that $500 range, you're gonna find a lot different guns that are just a lot better than this particular gun. For you guys that are do-it-yourselfer, just want to spray your car one time, or if you're just beginning to be a professional in this field and you want to get your hands dirty, this is a great gun to do that. And I honestly wish 17 years ago there was this many options on the market that there is now. Guys, this is Brian from Paint Society reminding you, don't overthink it. It's just paint. See you guys on the next episode.